Listen, I want you to understand something about men and relationships. You see, sometimes we get so caught up in trying to be available, trying to text, trying to call, trying to show that we care, that we forget one very important thing. Absence creates clarity. When you stop contacting a man, it doesn't mean you're being mean or playing games. It means you're respecting yourself and letting him realize your value. Now, I want you to pay close attention. When you stop chasing, men start to do things you may not expect. I call these the 4 things he will do. 1, he will start noticing your absence. When you were always there, he may have taken your time and attention for granted, but when you step back, suddenly he feels the emptiness. It's like, where did she go? Why isn't she texting me? Absence has a way of making someone see the importance of what they had without even realizing it before. Listen, let me break this down for you, because this is something that most women don't realize. When a man has been used to you being there all the time, constantly texting, calling, showing up, always making him feel important, he gets comfortable. Comfortable doesn't mean he doesn't care, it just means he stops appreciating what he has. Men are wired a little differently than women. They don't always realize the value of something until it's gone. And this is where most women make the mistake. They keep giving, keep chasing, keep being available, thinking that love is measured by constant presence. But here's the truth. When you step back and stop contacting him, something amazing happens. Suddenly, he notices, not in a small, subtle way, but in a way that can't be ignored. Your absence doesn't scream, it whispers. And men, whether they admit it or not, they hear that whisper loud and clear. Think about it. When you were always there, he had a routine. He had the comfort of knowing that no matter what happened, you were a call or a call, text away. Maybe he didn't fully see it, maybe he took it for granted, but he felt safe. Men do that. They get used to things, and sometimes they don't put much thought into it until they sense that the security is at risk. When you step back, when you stop being that constant presence, it hits him like a reality check. Suddenly, the world doesn't feel as bright. Suddenly, he starts realizing that the laughter, the late night talks, the warmth of your voice, those little things he brushed off, they're missing. And here's the thing, he may not show it right away. Men are not always good at expressing their feelings openly, but inside they're feeling it. They feel the absence, and that feeling grows louder every day. It's like a background song that gets stuck in their head. They can't ignore it, no matter how hard they try. That's why absence is so powerful. It doesn't come across as manipulation. It comes across as reality. It makes him reflect. It makes him question. It makes him realize that something important is slipping away. And in that reflection, the truth about how much he values you starts to come to light. Now, I want you to understand this part very clearly. Noticing your absence is the first stage of awakening for him. It's not about guilt, it's about awareness. When he stops seeing your name pop up on his phone, when he stops feeling your energy around him, he starts to recognize the void. That void is like a mirror, showing him exactly what he's missing, exactly what he has taken for granted. And you know what's wild? Often, men don't even know that they were taking it for granted until that void appears. It's human nature. Comfort can blind anyone, and absence removes the blindfold. It gives him clarity. He starts to appreciate the laughter, the love, the support, and the attention you brought into his life. He notices the small gestures, the things he didn't comment on before, and suddenly those little things feel enormous because they're gone. You can't underestimate this. It works like magic. It makes him see you as the prize you are, not as someone to take for granted. And here's the key. This is not about playing games or punishing him. This is about self-respect. This is about showing him that your time, your energy, and your love are not limitless for just anyone. Your absence is a message without words, a reminder that you have standards and that you won't be available at the drop of a hat. When a man notices that absence, he starts thinking about the moment you shared, the bond you created, and he begins to realize that losing you is not an option he wants to consider. It's a powerful tool, and women often underestimate how strong it can be. So when you step back, don't feel guilty. Don't second guess yourself. You're not being cruel. You're creating space for him to understand the value of what he has. And trust me, once he notices your absence, everything changes. Suddenly, he's paying attention. Suddenly, he's reflecting. And suddenly, he's starting to realize that you are someone he can't afford to lose. 2, he will think about you more. You see, men are problem solvers by nature. When they feel your absence, their minds start racing. They start asking questions. Why isn't she reaching out? Did I do something wrong? Do I even like her as much as I thought? Your silence gives him space to reflect, to evaluate his feelings, and to realize that maybe he's not as indifferent as he thought. Now listen, this part is crucial, and it's where a lot of women don't understand what's really happening in a man's mind. When you stop contacting a man, when you step back and give him space, his brain starts working in ways it didn't before. You see, men are wired differently than women. They don't usually sit and overthink every little interaction like we do. But when something familiar suddenly goes missing, it triggers a thought process that they can't ignore. He begins to think about you more. I'm talking about those quiet moments when he's driving, at work, or even just sitting on the couch, and he finds his mind wandering back to you. That's the power of absence. When you're constantly available, he doesn't have the chance to reflect. He takes your presence for granted because it's always there. But the moment you stop reaching out, something shifts. That shift is the start of him evaluating what you really mean to him, what he really feels about you, and even what he might have overlooked in the relationship. And here's the thing, when he starts thinking about you, it's not just surface level thoughts. It goes deeper. He begins to remember the laughter you shared, the late night talks, the way your energy made him feel alive. He starts replaying moments in his mind, asking himself questions he never asked before. Did I treat her right? Did I really appreciate her? He thinks about the little gestures, the small acts of love, the way she listened when no one else would. And suddenly he realizes that there was so much value in what he had, value that he might have overlooked. Women sometimes underestimate how reflective absence can make a man. When you're always there, he doesn't pause to think. He doesn't stop to analyze because everything seems constant and reliable. But when you step away, even just for a little while, it disrupts his sense of routine, and that disruption forces him to confront his feelings. Another important thing is that men, in their nature, are solution-oriented. When he starts thinking about you more, it's not just nostalgia. He starts evaluating his role in your life. He asks himself questions like, did I mess up? Did I take her for granted? Do I even like her as much as I thought? That's when the gears start turning. And it's not a one-time thought. These reflections tend to multiply. They echo and they become persistent because the absence you created is a constant reminder. He notices the void and he starts wondering how to fill it. That's where the thinking really intensifies. Here's the beauty of it. This reflection is not something you can manufacture by constantly texting or calling. You can't force him to think. You can't make him reflect while you're always available. Reflection comes naturally when someone is faced with the reality of absence. And that reflection often leads to a deeper appreciation. He starts seeing you differently because he finally has the mental space to consider what he's losing, what he values, and what he wants. He starts thinking not just about you, but about the kind of person you are, the qualities that make you unique, and the ways you've impacted his life. And here's the kicker. Thinking about you more often leads to action. Because men, unlike women sometimes, tend to act once they've processed their emotions. So understand this. When you stop contacting a man, you are giving him a gift, even if he doesn't realize it. You're giving him the gift of reflection, the chance to understand his feelings, and the opportunity to evaluate the relationship honestly. And when a man genuinely starts thinking about you more, it's a sign that he's recognizing your value, recognizing your importance, and beginning to see the truth about how much he actually cares. That's the power of stepping back, of creating space, and allowing absence to do what presence sometimes cannot. 3, he will try to find ways to reach you. When a man feels your absence and realizes he misses your energy, your presence, and your love, he will take action. Some men will text, call, or even find subtle ways to be around you again. That's because humans are wired to seek connection. And once he realizes that connection is at risk of being lost, he will fight to restore it. Now let's talk about what happens after a man starts noticing your absence and thinking about you more. This is where the magic really begins, and it's a point that a lot of women miss if they don't understand male psychology. When a man truly starts to feel the gap your absence creates, something inside him shifts. Men are wired to act. Unlike women, who often process emotions internally for longer periods, men tend to take action once their emotions hit a certain point. When he realizes that he misses your presence, he begins to think, I need to do something about this. And that's when you start seeing behaviors that show he's trying to reconnect, even if he doesn't say it outright at first. You see, when a man begins to miss someone, it's not always about immediate communication. At first, he might just be testing the waters. He'll find subtle ways to let you know he's around, like interacting with your social media posts, commenting on a story, or liking a photo. It might seem small or even casual, but to someone paying attention, it's a sign of effort. It's his way of saying, without saying anything directly, I'm thinking about you. I miss your presence. I want to see if you notice me. And ladies, notice this carefully. These little actions often escalate if the feelings are genuine. They start small because men want to gauge your reaction to see if you're still interested or if you've moved on. Once he's sure that you're genuinely distant, that you're not constantly available, he starts looking for ways to reach you more directly. This is when you might get a text, a call, or even an unexpected visit if the relationship allows it. The point here is action. Men are solution-driven. Once they identify a problem, like the absence of someone they care about, they instinctively try to fix it. Your distance has created a problem in his mind, and his natural response is to find a solution. Getting back in touch with you. The way he approaches it might not be perfect, and sometimes it's clumsy, but the intention is there. That's the difference between a man who truly values you and one who doesn't. The one who cares will make an effort to bridge the gap. And let me be real with you, this effort tells you a lot about his character. A man who truly wants you will find ways to reach you. He will adjust his schedule, change his approach, or step out of his comfort zone because he understands that you are worth it. It's not just about persistence. It's about creativity, sincerity, and intention. He'll figure out how to connect with you in ways that show he's serious. And this is important because women often misinterpret inaction as disinterest. But when you step back and he starts actively seeking you out, that's a clear indicator of genuine care. Here's the deeper truth. The act of reaching out isn't just about wanting to talk. It's about wanting to reconnect emotionally. When he finds ways to reach you, it signals that he's reflecting on the relationship, realizing what he values, and taking tangible steps to restore what matters. Men don't always verbalize their feelings like women do, but their actions speak volumes. Every effort he makes to get in touch is his way of saying, I see your value. I realize what I may have missed. I want to be part of your life. And ladies, this is why stepping back is so powerful. Your absence triggers reflection, awareness, and ultimately action. The process forces him to recognize that love, attention, and care aren't unlimited. And if he wants it, he must make the effort. So understand this. When you stop contacting a man, you're not playing games. You're creating space for him to show his true intentions. And when he begins to find ways to reach you, that's your proof. That's his way of demonstrating that he's invested, that he cares, and that he's willing to take action. That effort, that pursuit, that desire to reconnect is the clearest reflection of a man's heart and commitment. Number 4, he will either commit or move on. Now here's the truth. When you stop contacting a man, it's a filter. It separates the ones who truly care from those who don't. If he's serious about you, he will step up, show his intentions, and commit. If he's not serious, he'll fade away. And that's okay because it saves you from wasting your time on someone who isn't willing to meet you halfway. Now here's where everything comes full circle. And this is where most women really need to pay attention. When a man has noticed your absence, reflected on your value, and even taken steps to reach you, he comes to a critical crossroads. This is the defining moment where his true intentions are revealed. Men are like that when they're given clarity, when they've had time and space to evaluate their feelings, they will make a choice. And that choice will either be to commit to you wholeheartedly or to step away and move on. There's no in between. And understanding this can save you a lot of heartache. See, when a man truly cares, when he's invested emotionally, he will rise to the occasion. After all the thinking, all the reflection, all the efforts to reconnect, he realizes that losing you is not an option he wants to consider. He understands your worth, your value, and the unique energy you bring into his life, and he's willing to step up. That's where commitment comes in. Commitment doesn't always happen overnight, but when a man is serious, he will show it through his actions, his words, and his consistency. He won't just talk about wanting to be with you, he will demonstrate it. He will make time for you, prioritize you, and be intentional about the relationship. Commitment is not just a label. It's a lifestyle, a set of behaviors, and a dedication to building something lasting. On the other hand, when a man isn't serious, when he's not willing to meet you halfway, your absence serves as a filter. It separates the ones who truly care from those who don't. If he isn't willing to invest, if he doesn't take the steps to show that he values you, he will drift away. He may make excuses, he may fade slowly, but ultimately he will move on. And that's okay. That's not a failure on your part. It's protection. By stepping back and giving him space, you reveal his true intentions faster than constant availability ever could. Some women fear this outcome, but moving on is a blessing in disguise. It clears the path for someone who genuinely values you to enter or stay in your life. Here's the key lesson. Your absence doesn't create confusion for the right person. It clarifies everything. It forces him to confront his feelings, evaluate his priorities, and decide what he really wants. Men don't always process emotions the way women do, but when they are faced with the reality of losing someone important, they act. And their actions, or lack of them, show you exactly where you stand. Commitment is the reward for a man who recognizes your value and respects the space you've given him to reflect. Moving on is the natural consequence for someone who isn't serious. Either way, the outcome is beneficial because it reveals the truth, and the truth is the foundation of any healthy relationship. And understand this, when he commits, it's not just about staying, it's about taking responsibility, showing up consistently, and proving that he's willing to match your effort with his own. Commitment is a reflection of respect, love, and maturity. It's about building trust, creating security, and honoring the connection you share. If he chooses to move on, it's not rejection, it's simply a demonstration that he wasn't aligned with the path you're on. And that's why stepping back is so powerful. Your absence gives him a mirror to see himself clearly, a moment to decide whether he's capable of meeting you on the level you deserve. So the bottom line is this: when you stop contacting a man, you create a natural filter. He will either rise to show his commitment, proving that he values, respects, and loves you, or he will walk away, making it clear that he's not ready or willing to invest in what you offer. And either outcome is good, because both reveal the truth and free you to be with someone who genuinely wants you, respects your worth, and is ready to match your energy. It's not about punishment, it's about clarity, truth, and self-respect.